I'm George Calderaro, director of the Tin Pan Alley American Popular Music Project, and we're here on the corner of Broadway and 28th Street to officially co-name 28th Street as Tin Pan Alley, the birthplace of American popular music, where sheet music publishers, performers, and songwriters work together to create American popular music, which later became the Great American Songbook. Michelle, Jesse Breheny, Vito Duterte, and Joe Whitman. That was, as everyone in the world knows, God Bless America, which was written right here on Tin Pan Alley on 28th Street by Irving Berlin in 1918. We are here today to put Tin Pan Alley on the map. Achieve landmark designation for 5 buildings on 28th Street, 47 to 55 West 28th Street, which occurred in 2019. And now, post-COVID, we're able to celebrate and actually co-name the Tin Pan Alley, the birthplace of American popular music, the home of sheet music publishers, songwriters, performers, and hundreds of songs, who created hundreds of songs that we all know around the world today, like Take Me Out to the Ball Game, Sidewalks of New York, Give My Regards to Broadway, and of course, God Bless America by Irving Berlin, the godfather of Tin Pan Alley. Over across the street by the Nomad Hotel, some of you might have seen, there's a plaque in the sidewalk, and that plaque was placed by songwriters like Richard Rodgers and Harold Arlen in the late 1970s. Irving Berlin could not attend, but he sent a telegram and said that I wrote a song when I was 15 in 1903, and I don't think much of the song, but it meant a lot to me because I made it to the alley, and it's really wonderful. So the, as I said, the designation took place in 2019, and we're honored today to be joined by representatives from several city agencies, notably including the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission. We're really honored to have worked with and to be joined by today the Director of Research, Kate Lemos-McHale, who with her staff conducted extensive research for years that resulted in 5 compelling designation reports to document and make the case for the indisputable cultural significance of Tin Pan Alley. You can find the designation reports and also donate to us at tinpanalley.nyc. So now please help me welcome Kate Lemos-McHale, the Director of Research from the Landmarks Preservation Commission.
Thank you so much, George. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the Landmarks Preservation Commission with such esteemed company, and to celebrate the official co-naming of this famous block of West 28th Street as Tin Pan Alley. At the turn of the 20th century, the significant concentration of sheet music publishers here had an indelible impact on the history of American popular music and paved the way for what would become the Great American Songbook. The low scale of the row houses, which you can't really see here but down the block, and their proximity to theaters and music halls made it possible to advertise to theater crowds, to beckon hopeful creatives eager to capitalize on their talent. The name Tin Pan Alley, the first unofficial co-naming of the street, happened around 1903 to evoke the racket of piano music that was audible from the street. The name was so closely connected to this block at that moment in history, it went on to symbolize the popular music industry in general, much like Hollywood does for the movie industry. Tin Pan Alley represents significant milestones for the participation of African American and Jewish artists in mainstream music production. It brought ragtime to an international public, offered unprecedented opportunities for Black artists and publishers to create mainstream American music, and saw many gain acclaim and prominence. Songwriters and music publishers collaborated in new ways on Tin Pan Alley and created a new popular American art form in the midst of the post-Reconstruction era. Racist policies, views, and ideology were prevalent in New York City and throughout the country, and among other injustices were reflected in offensive caricatures and stereotypes spread through the mass media, including sheet music covers. The designation of this row of 5 buildings as individual landmarks in 2019 recognizes significant contributions and achievements of African Americans here and acknowledged the harsh realities they faced. It ensured that future generations could experience a sense of Tin Pan Alley streetscape and to learn the important history it represents. In our designations, the Landmarks Preservation Commission seeks to represent the diversity of New York City and tell the story of all New Yorkers. Preserving buildings that embody specific aspects of history allows us to recognize and learn from the experiences of those who contributed to that history as part of our collective memory and heritage. Designation of the intact row of 5 buildings embodying Tin Pan Alley's history is an important example of that function of historic preservation. The Tin Pan Alley landmarks are featured prominently in our interactive story map, preserving significant places of Black history, African American landmarks, and historic districts in New York City. This story map helps make the histories embodied in landmarks more accessible and to make connections across the city and throughout time. Renaming this street helps make this history even more accessible. And I'm thrilled to be here today for this important moment. I hope people will see the street signs, look up the history of Tin Pan Alley, listen to the music that was created here, and learn from all the research that has been done to recognize and preserve this place. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate, for all your work and for your staff and the whole commission. I see some landmarks commissioners, Wellington Chen, among other colleagues. We're very grateful for the partnership of the Landmarks Commission. As Kate noted, Tin Pan Alley was designated the buildings are nice, but not so much as architectural landmarks, but as cultural landmarks, based, of course, on the significance of as the birthplace of American popular music, but also because of the contributions of Eastern European, Jewish, and African American publishers, songwriters, and performers. It's now my pleasure to introduce John Reddick, historian, who has made it his life's work to research and share the legacy of Black and Jewish contributions to music, and I'm grateful that he's with us today, as he has been for years leading up to today. John?
Well, first of all, I want to tip my hat to the Landmarks Commission and to George for real years of hard work and research to make this happen. And for me, I live in Harlem. I came in 1980, and I became fascinated once I found out that the Jewish population prior to the African American population was one of the largest in New York City. And that happened right as in the 1890s when Hammerstein and other players that we associate later on in the music industry were opening theaters, Weber's and Fields in Harlem. And as an African American, what I realized about the American Songbook is it's the ballot box for what we decided Americans were going to be. This what do we all share? That popular hit was something that was like a vote. I like this song because it's saying something that really connects to me. And then I realized, as an African American, what we contributed as the beat. Dvorak, when he came to America, he heard the African American tunes, or what they call plantation songs from the South. He says, in the base of this music, I see a new music for America. He sees the potential of us having distinctive music through dialogue between those two voices. And then I realized that Jewish people in America were also being, there was prejudice against that group as well, but they don't look like me, they look like everybody else. And those two outsider visions about trying to figure out how we're going to come together is totally reflected in the music. And so when George brought me on board for this project, the developer was going to build something as big as this probably through the block, hired a historian who brought sheet music. He was on TV, he was at the commission, and all he showed was the covers. Look at this, it says that, look at how they're showing black people. And 8 out of the 10 images he showed had African American stars and performers on the cover. Burt Williams, a range of players, Williams and Walker. They had composer names on the sheet music. That was the first time African Americans didn't come to the street and just get paid for the song and become anonymous. That sheet music meant they could broker from then on when they had a hit. You like Johnny Reddick's music? Go get Johnny Reddick. They didn't have to go through the music publisher, and that music went global. So the first American dance hit that was international wasn't the Charleston, everyone thinks about the 20s, it was the Cakewalk. And these are the gentlemen that were printing music and sending that music globally around the world and defining America with this mix that included African Americans. And New York celebrated and made that all possible. And so I think our history is more interesting, not just my history, American history, because of that inclusiveness. And sheet music as the ballot was the first one to ever do it. And I encourage you to walk down the street because they talk about the Preservation Commission was talking about the scale of the buildings, how they were houses converted into the commercial use. But think of trying to go sell your music to the music business today. You have to get in the elevator, past security, past the receptionist, maybe get an appointment. Here, Noble Sisters could stand on the street and cajole and get his music played, or have a bridge to the music business. So as you go by, realize the pedestrian life that must have existed then, the way you could have engaged and crossed paths and connect, and we should celebrate that opportunity. And as all this other architecture is moving around us and sort of changes, it's nice to know that a tourist staying at this building might see a sign and connect to the fact of how great America was at a certain period of time for engaging all of our voices. So as an African American in this period where I feel politically, everyone's saying, I'm just thinking about me. No, we're thinking about us. And this music really for me is the heartbeat of what that exercise is all about. So George, Landmarks Commission, and all the hard workers in the neighborhood that made this possible, my hat is off to you.
Thank you, John, for years of hard work. And it's important to note the context that in the late 19th and early 20th century, this area, the area around Madison Square Park, was the entertainment and cultural capital center of New York City. You had Madison Square Garden on Madison and 26th Street. You had the luxurious Fifth Avenue Hotel where Italy is right now. You had betting parlors on this very street. You had the William Morris Agency. Thomas Edison was up on the roof at number 47 making movies. Variety was established here. I just read a quote from the excellent Landmarks Commission report where they said you could be on 28th Street and never have to leave. You can eat, you can dine, you can make a bet, you can see a show. It's really wonderful, so I commend them to you. Another great partner of ours is please. Another great partner of ours since the Tin Pan Alley American Popular Music Project was created, we needed civic partners, some of whom you've met, some of whom you will meet. But if any of you were at our magnificent Tin Pan Alley Day on October 23rd, I have to give credit to the Flatiron 23rd Street Partnership and its staff led by James Metham for easing the process. for us to be able to present that magnificent 4-hour, 40-person concert, which was developed by our wonderful committee, including Marilyn Lester and Magda Katz and Bob Lamont and a number of other people who are here today and who send their regards, even if they're not. So now I'd like to welcome from the Flatiron 23rd Street Partnership, Megan Garcia, who is the Chief of Staff, and I'm also especially delighted to take this opportunity that as of January, just recently, the Flatiron 23rd Street Partnership is expanding up to 28th Street? 31st, and which including Tin Pan Alley. So their significant support and partnership will continue and grow. So here to talk about their work, Megan Garcia from the partnership.
Thank you, George. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Megan Garcia. As George said, I'm the Chief of Staff and Director of Marketing and Outreach at the Flatiron 23rd Street BID. It's an honor to be here today for this fitting tribute to songwriters, music publishers, and performers who gave birth to the worldwide cultural force known as American popular music. The Flatiron Partnership is proud to support the work of George and the Tin Pan Alley American Popular Music Project and keep this history alive and connect people through the power of music. We are also grateful to Borough President Mark Levine and Councilmember Eric Botcher for all the work they do to support the neighborhood. Through the variety of services and collaboration with local stakeholders, the partnership works to enhance the reputation of Flatiron and Nomad as two of New York City's most vital and exciting neighborhoods. And the two things we're celebrating today, history and culture, are a big part of what makes these neighborhoods so special. Since 2006, the partnership has served much of Nomad, but this block was not part of our bid until this year when we expanded our boundaries north to 31st Street and west to 6th Avenue. So now we are thrilled to be able to say that Tin Pan Alley is officially part of our district.
Yes.
Today's street co-naming is an important step to ensure that New Yorkers and visitors will always know that American popular music was born right here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Megan. And I think people can already see the great work and impact of the bid just since January in terms of maintaining the street. And I would be remiss if I didn't note this edifice, this magnificent building we're standing in front of. This is the new Ritz-Carlton, which is expected to open in the spring, early summer, and we're delighted that they are part of the street and that Tin Pan Alley is going to be part of the Ritz. And I'm thrilled that Bastian Germer, the general manager of the Ritz, is here, and Chris Gordino, who gave the director of Power, gave us power here today. So and his whole team. So we welcome the Ritz to the neighborhood, and we're especially delighted to welcome you to Tin Pan Alley. So if Irving Berlin is the godfather of Tin Pan Alley, then Mario Messina and the 29th Street Neighborhood Association is the godfather of the Tin Pan Alley American Popular Music Project. When I moved to just in 2014 to East 28th Street, not Tin Pan Alley. I always say I don't have a dog in this race. This isn't Indians, but I had been a preservationist for decades and learned of the 29th Street Neighborhood Association's campaign to expand the Madison Square North Historic District, and I immediately got involved and noticed on a map Tin Pan Alley. And like a lot of people around the world said, I've always heard of Tin Pan Alley, but I knew it was associated with music. I didn't quite know what it was. And I certainly didn't know it was right here in 28th Street, that it was intact and unprotected. And that's when I and a wonderful committee gathered, and we worked for years with the Landmarks Commission to achieve the Landmarks designation, but it was all due to the 29th Street Neighborhood Association and its founding director, Mario Messina, who I'm delighted to welcome to the stage.
Thank you very much. We had worked very hard for a long time to try to get Tin Pan Alley to make it a landmark corner of New York City because he deserved it. When I thought and when we thought that our effort was finding deaf ears, here came George, who doesn't take no for an answer, and to whom we owe today's celebration and the fact that we are here to celebrate the historic district of Timpanogos. George gathered a group of people some from the board of the 29th Street Neighborhood Association and other friends that are here and that you have met today. And together with the Landmark Preservation Commission, we put together a compelling presentation that really led to finally getting Timpanogos the right place in history that he deserves. So I really want all of you to say thank you to George and to give me a heartfelt for this great job and for not taking no for an answer. George, today the 29th Street Neighborhood Association has finished his moral support on this drive to turn Timpanogos to what it is today. Today it is up to you and all the other people that are part of your group to turn Timpanogos into an historic jewel that the whole world will admire and love. Thank you.
Thank you.
But you know, I'm still going to be asking for stuff, and I still won't take no for an answer. No. We're going to have appropriately a music interlude, and we're going to welcome back the fabulous Leora Michelle, who is going to perform for you the first million-selling song that emanated from Timpanogos. It's actually 5 million. This song, After the Ball, by Charles K. Harris, was an 1892 smash hit and known all over the world. And I'm delighted to welcome back Leora Michelle to perform it for us.
Little maiden, find an old man's knee, begged for a story, do uncle please? Why are you single? Why live alone? Have you no babies? Have you no home? I had a sweetheart years ago. Where she is now, but you will soon know. Listen to the story, I'll tell it all. I believed her faithless after the ball. After the ball is over, after the break of morn, after the dance is leaving, after the stars have gone, maybe your heart is aching. If you could read the ball, maybe the hopes that have vanished after the ball. Bright lights were flashing in the grand ballroom, softly the music playing sweet tunes. There came my sweetheart, my love, my own. I wish some water, leave me alone. When I returned, dear, there stood a man, kissing my sweetheart as a lovers can. Down fell the glass hat, broken, that's all. Just as my heart was after the ball. After the ball is over, after the break of morn, after the dance is leaving, after the stars have gone, maybe your heart is aching. If you could read the ball, maybe the hope that have vanished after the ball. Long years have passed, child, I've never read true to my lost love, though she is dead.
Thank you. Laura, Michelle, Jesse B. Henny, Vito, and Joe. Many people don't realize or haven't read the 1965 landmarks law, and I'm not going to read, it's short, but I'm not going to read the law. But I will say that it cites its purpose of safeguarding the buildings and places that represent New York City's cultural, architectural history in all order to foster civic pride, tourism, property values, and a strong economy, as well as education. In my unbiased opinion, Tin Pan Alley embodies all of these goals, and it will help the city come back from a pandemic stronger than ever. Our newly elected Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine, shares these large and diverse goals and challenges, and it's my great honor to welcome him to Tin Pan Alley now.
Thank you, thank you. George Colorado is a force of nature. George, you are amazing. And if you hadn't been that force of nature, we wouldn't be here today. Thank you for what you have done to demand that this city preserve these precious buildings and that we mark this history right here. We're doing it today. Thank you, thank you, thank you, George. You know, throughout Manhattan, there are streets where so much history has taken place that they have come to symbolize whole sectors of society. Broadway, of course, Wall Street, Fifth Avenue, Madison Avenue, Tin Pan Alley too. What's happened? Yes. Yeah. What's happened on this street has in many ways defined the society that we live in today. This was the first place where really artists could make a living by writing songs, which we take for granted now. That started here. This was one of the first places where Jews in America could make it in showbiz. When they had been denied entry, they really found a way here. And while we shouldn't overly romanticize what the access which black Americans at the time had here, it is true that many black songwriters and even producers were able to, for the first time, gain a mass audience throughout society. And most importantly, this was the beginning of pop music here. So if you like Ariana Grande, and even if you don't, she is in many ways, and many of her peers, have inherited what began on the street, in those buildings, which we have which we have preserved. Just to mention some of the songs that have now, they've just entered into our bloodstream. And what I found in talking to young people is they don't know they know these songs, but they do. They really do. Songs like Grand Old Flag, Sidewalks of New York, A Hot Time in the Old Town Tonight, Hello My Baby, Hello My Honey. You know, I was told there'd be a dancing frog here. Is that not on order? You kind of need that. Give My Regards to Broadway, Take Me Out to the Ball Game, and of course, After the Ball. What a rendition by Laura, Michael, did I pronounce that right? Laura Michelle, thank you. I don't know the name of your orchestra, but every one of them was awesome. Can we give them another big round of applause, please? Keeping this tradition alive. And I finally want to emphasize something that George said, which is so important. When we create a space like this that uplifts this history, that calls attention to this history, that preserves some of the actual buildings where this history took place, this is not just an exercise for historians. This makes this block a destination, a place where school kids can come and learn and feel this, where visitors will come. They will come here, and that is economic development, because the tourists that come will then get a meal in the neighborhood or buy something from a local store. So there is an economic benefit to the kind of preservation and placemaking that and preservation of memory here that's happening. So this is really, really huge. Finally, your next speaker, I think, is your council member. Is that right? Oh my God, Eric Botcher is awesome. Is off to an amazing start. And he helped make this today possible. He helped make today possible. So yes, please give a big round of applause for Council Member Eric Botcher. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Tin Pan Alley.
I'll just add a little bit to what the borough president said. As I said, there are many of you were tireless advocates with us for the designation of Tin Pan Alley, and no one more than Eric Botcher for several years when he was chief of staff for Corey Johnson, and we worked side by side going back to the Landmarks Commission, and it is my pleasure and honor to welcome him back now as the new council person of District 3 in Manhattan, Eric Botcher.
George, thank you. Give me a hug, George, because this wouldn't be happening without George Calderaro. I met George initially, had to have been 6 or 7 years ago, when I had just started as the chief of staff for Corey Johnson. And I heard from George right away, said, welcome to the new job. We're going to get Tin Pan Alley landmarked. I said, let's do it. But George, you got to get some signatures. You got to get some support. And how many signatures did you get? Thousands and thousands of signatures. But the answer initially was no. The buildings aren't significant enough. They've been altered too much. But George and so many of you didn't give up. We didn't give up. We went back again. We had a second meeting, a third meeting, a fourth meeting. And then ultimately, the LPC, and I want to thank the LPC for doing this let's give them a round of applause, because they came through and came back with a proposal to landmark the buildings. But even then, it wasn't a done deal. Up until the last minute, the property owner ended up fighting it in the end. And it was touch and go right up until the last minute. But because of George's efforts and the efforts of so many of you, Tin Pan Alley is going to be here for generations to come. Generations. This isn't just helping us here today, so we get to continue to enjoy Tin Pan Alley. Future generations are going to come to Tin Pan Alley and learn what happened here, the birthplace of American pop music. Otherwise, they'd be looking at a glass tower, and the name Tin Pan Alley might have been lost to history. So the landmarking happened, and then George called again. We need to rename the street Tin Pan Alley. But the answer to that from the city was initially no. We don't do any more. We've renamed too many streets in this neighborhood. There's a moratorium on street co-namings. We're not doing it anymore. George didn't take that answer. And we went back and back and back, and finally we got this, and we're going to unveil it in a minute. And I couldn't be more honored to be part of this, and I couldn't be more honored that my partner in government, Borough President Mark Levine, is part of it too. So George, I think we're ready to pull off the paper. This is the best part. This is the best part. Let's do it.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.